Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today to recognize and celebrate some meaningful work and the author behind it. My name is Rebecca Lilly Oppenheimer, and I am the chair of the Oppenheimer Memorial Trust, and it is my sincere honor to present the 2023 Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship Award. This award was established 23 years ago in 2001 as a tribute to my grandpa. The fellowship is awarded to the best and brightest minds engaged in research that explores issues that have the ability to impact and change lives and so improve the world that we live in. Each year, we attract nominations from a diversity of fields, from astrophysics to biochemistry, engineering to neuropsychology, philosophy to zoology, and everything in between. But what sets these nominees apart is that they are true leaders in their respective fields, and they are advancing knowledge in South Africa and beyond. You just have to look across at our wall of fame over there, and we're lucky to have some of those people in the room with us today to just feel a little bit awed by the company that the fellowship keeps. And I truly feel that this award reflects the luminaries of our time. The 2023 Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship Award received 44 nominations. After a rigorous initial adjudication process, 6 candidates were invited for interviews. And I guess I would say that we are entirely agnostic in our approach. And historically, it seems that the sciences, whether health or physical, natural sciences, have tended to win out the day. But that does not mean that we were not challenged in this particular session with a new philosophical approach to how to make people with contesting views find the middle. We had someone presenting a new sort of technological way to capture ancient knowledge on the African continent. It was an absolutely fascinating process to be part of, and equally fascinating was that there was a very clear emergent star from those discussions. It soon became clear to us that there was one researcher who had the capacity to challenge our thinking on how new life develops. In recognition of his work and his aims to create new knowledge about how diseases such as HIV and the treatment of HIV can interfere and impact with the growth of the placenta, and that in turn can have adverse effects on sort of child, maternal, all developments of that child. And now I've entirely lost my place. Okay, so I am delighted to announce the recipient of the 2023 Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship Award is Professor Clive Gray from Stellenbosch University. Professor Gray has made significant contributions to the field of HIV science throughout his career, and this research has the potential to uncover novel ways of treating the mother-child connection and health, and consequently has the potential to really profoundly impact public health in South Africa and beyond. It is my great honor to invite Professor Gray to the stage to tell you more about his research and how he plans to use this award. Thank you so much.
So, hello everyone. Wonderful to see you. People who might know me will know that I'm absolutely overwhelmed at this. But anyway, I'll begin. So, last November, December, I thought I had reached the pinnacle of my professional career. And that was opening the International Conference of Immunology in Cape Town in front of 3,000 people. well, today I have to tell you, tops that completely. I didn't foresee this coming, and I'm receiving this award actually with great humility, and this completely supersedes anything that has gone before it. So, as Rebecca pointed out, I think this award has huge significance for my work, my group's work, and all the years preceding it, almost 25, 30 years of work on HIV. And some of the people, and I'll point this out later, are here in the audience who were part of that journey with me. So I have been involved in HIV research since 1995. And gosh, next year it'll be 30 years, the 30th anniversary. And I have to say there are many ups and downs during that time. And as I said, some of the guests here today were with me from the beginning. So 13 years ago, my family, who was sitting over here, and my wife here, we moved to Cape Town. And I took up the chair of immunology at the University of Cape Town. And I used that occasion to shift my research away from HIV vaccine development, looking at adult HIV, to begin to look at children. Now, these children born to HIV-positive mums are not healthy. They're not as healthy as their counterparts. They have many bacterial, viral infections, and they have stunted growth, and they also have learning difficulties. So I set out with my new colleagues at that time at the University of Cape Town to understand what was going on. And it soon became apparent that looking at the children was too late. We needed to look earlier. So that's when I entered the world of the placenta. Now, you may not know what a placenta is. I think half the audience will. And it's a fetal organ, like the baby. It doesn't belong to the mother or the father, but it contains both of those genes, derived, inherited. So there's a quintessential question of how come the mother can tolerate the baby and the placenta when it's not theirs, it's half theirs. So we began to look at what we call fetal maternal tolerance and what breaks this tolerance. And this has been part of my research for the past 5 years, or maybe more actually, 6 years. So some of these women we know received antiretroviral drugs, anti-HIV drugs. And one of the first studies that we found was that women who were on these anti-HIV drugs prior to conception or prior to becoming pregnant had a very unusual pathology in the placenta, unusual traits. There was misinformation coming to form the maternal arteries. Now, those of you who don't know, in the placenta, the mother's blood penetrates into the placenta and feeds the baby through the umbilical cord. And there was something blocking this or impairing this penetration into the fetal tissue. Only on women who were receiving drugs before they became pregnant, and there was a twofold risk of this. So, as an immunologist, my immediate thought was, well, this has to be an immune-based problem. So I turned to the literature, and as we all do as scientists and good academics, we read and read and read and fall asleep and get bored. And I want to read a quote that is from an English philosopher, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, from the 1780s. And I quote this: "The history of man for the 9 months preceding his birth would probably be far more interesting and contains events of greater moment than all the 70 years that follow it." In other words, this was all about what goes on before birth, i.e. in utero. So we can't obviously look at the baby, but we can look at the placenta. So this brings me to my award. So we've spent a long time looking at certain molecules in the placenta that give rise to this this inability of the mother's veins and arteries to penetrate the placenta. And we came across a molecule, I'm going to call it factor X, because its technical name would just confuse you. And what we found is that factor X is reduced in the placenta on very specialized immune cells called macrophages. And the placenta is full of these cells. It's full of all kinds of immune cells because it helps this tolerance to occur between the mother and the fetus. And if you don't have that, you reject. And often that's what happens when you have an abortion or early termination of pregnancy. So we found that this factor X was found on these macrophages, but reduced in women giving premature birth, preterm birth. So we probed a bit more, and we found that actually this factor X is involved in the technical name is angiogenesis, which means blood vessel formation. So we began to put 2 and 2 together and said, well, if factor X is reduced, that figures that maybe there's poor vascular penetration into the fetal tissue. So this is what the award is about. It's about understanding the inability of the vessels to penetrate because of this factor X. And when we do some test tube, we put on the white coat, we go into the lab, and we play around in the bench. And when we do that, and we add antiretroviral drugs in the test tube to a model that tells us about vessel growth, it inhibits vessel growth. And when we add factor X back, so this is all in the test tube, it regenerates. So this is what this award about is. It's about understanding the mechanism of this poor vessel growth, but also what can help reverse it. We're never going to change policy, and we don't want to, of antiretroviral treatment, but we want to introduce maybe this is what you need to add in addition to help women who have premature birth. So this award is going to help us find this biomarker, this marker of premature birth, as well as understanding a mechanism of how it works. So the other aim, there's actually 3 aims, but the other aim is actually, and this is the most novel of which of this, is we also think, which we term hypothesis, we also think that factor X is involved in mother's health. So we have a cohort that we are looking at, based at the University of Cape Town, and actually it's being run by the new president of the South African MRC, Ntobeko Ntusi. I hope he has time to still work with us. And what we're doing, and what he's doing, is looking at heart problems. He's a cardiologist, so he's looking at cardiac function. And we're tapping into that study, and we're looking, and we want to make the connection between factor X in the placenta with later heart problems in the mother. So that's what this award is all about. So I have an excellent team at Stellenbosch University. We call ourselves the Reproductive Research Consortium in Africa. And actually, the person representing the team is Berenice. I don't know where Berenice is. There she is over there. She's my lab manager. And also, a lot of this work was on the back of a very talented postdoctoral fellow in my laboratory who couldn't be here today, Dottie Otwaj. She's from Kenya originally. And she has been working with our collaborators at Surrey University and Oxford University to help develop this whole macrophage factor X story that I've just alluded to. So that's the science. Now I will tell you something I did which was a bit crazy. So my interview with the panel was on the 16th of April. And I got the notice that I was going to be interviewed. And Tracy would know this. And I said, Tracy, I am in the US. Could we postpone? Could we delay? Could we have something online? No. Yes, you did offer a Teams call, and I said, well, exactly. I read between the lines. So I hopped on an airplane, and I came back physically for the interview. And I had my interview, and I have to say it was an inspiring interview because the panel were inspired by me, and I was then inspired by the panel. So it kind of worked out really well. Then I got back on an airplane, and I went back to the US, and arrived back in time for my wife's birthday. I won't tell you which one. And my daughter is at Yale, and we spent time together in the US. Success is not a single endeavor. So really, this is on the back of many people who've inspired me over the years, argued with me over the years, told me in no uncertain terms that I shouldn't be doing this over the many years, and vice versa. And this has helped me. So I will point out that the one person who's sitting right here, Lynn Morris, the previous winner, was the and Vice Chancellor of Research at Wits. He's really risen up the ranks. It's fantastic. Was with me at the very beginning when I entered. I left transplantation research and began to work on HIV. And that was then at the NICD, which was formerly known as the National Institute for Virology. But I also have students from my past who did their PhDs. Paulo there, Lorato there, who you may not know because you only received information from me, but you also pushed back, both of you actually, and helped me develop. And also my previous collaborators. And then to my family. Actually, no, before I get to the family, I actually really want to thank the Harry Oppenheimer Trust for this splendid occasion and for having the music, the jazz, all of you here, and for putting us up. I also want to thank Stellenbosch University. I moved there from UCT 3.5 years ago. They gave me space, they gave me opportunity, they gave me inspiration. So thank you, Professor Moy, who is representing Stellenbosch. And of course, I've mentioned Rieke, the lab, my research, and now my family. So my wife, Heather, who's also an academic at Stellenbosch University, and my two daughters, Rachel, who's a graphic designer studying art and digital design, and then to Harriet, who's, as I mentioned before, at Yale University and doing a degree in economics, which is all completely foreign to me. So I have no understanding of what she's doing, and she has no understanding of what I do either. I have to say that it took her 3 days to get here, because if anyone follows the news about Hurricane Beryl, all the flights from New York were cancelled. So finally she got here via Nairobi in time for this event. So thank you all very much for being here, my friends, my family, my ex-colleagues, my current colleagues. Thank you.
So the big moment. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 Harry Oppenheimer Fellowship Award to you, Professor. Congratulations.